Hello and welcome to season 7 of Sal Sylvester on the future of leadership. This season has really been about how do we elevate human performance at work. And we've explored it from the point of view of how leaders can help themselves and others perform better at work by thinking like an athlete, a corporate athlete, if you will. Today, we're taking a slightly different angle. In the past this season, we've looked at health, we've looked at nutrition, we've looked at sleep, we've looked at leadership. Today, we're going to take a perspective of how AI is reshaping our world and reshaping how we learn. And I have an amazing guest today. If you are in talent development, human capital, HR, you know this person. His name is Josh Bersin. Josh is a globally recognized industry analyst, author, educator, and thought leader in the corporate learning, HR, and leadership space. He founded Bersin and Associates in 2001, which became the leading research and advisory firm before they were acquired by Deloitte in 2012. And then in 2020, he founded the Josh Bersin Company, a research and advisory firm addressing topics from HR technology to employee experience and more. And they're doing amazing things with AI and technology in today's environment. Josh has a really unique perspective and futuristic perspective on how the AI era is going to shape how we learn, how we think, how organizations will change. So this is really a must listen to episode. Let's go to the interview with Josh Bersin now. Well, Josh, welcome to the show. It's an absolute privilege to have you here.
Thank you, Sal. It's great to be here. Lots of things to talk about.
Lots of things, and we've approached this season about how people can improve their performance at work, and we've looked at it from a number of angles, from health and fitness and leadership, and even how to navigate through change. Today, we're going to shift a bit and think about how AI is reshaping the learning process, both for the individual and the organization. Let me start high level. What are some of the trends, big picture, that you're seeing with AI today, Josh?
Well, I've had 4 or 5 meetings today already, and very, very common issue in the HR function is there's a pretty, I would say, almost unanimous top-down emphasis in companies from the CEO and the CFO and the CIO to improve productivity, reduce headcount, slow hiring, and use AI to reorganize the company if possible around this new technology. Everybody's going at it at a different rate of speed, and it's touching different parts of the company at different levels of priority depending on the industry and the company. But it's a unanimous crusade, and it's early days of this transformation, but we're learning a lot. And one of the issues that is coming up, and it will come up even more, is the impact of AI on leadership, on performance, on learning. And, anyway, so that's number one. And then the second thing is there is an economic slowdown taking place at this particular point in time. Most companies tell me that they're not hiring, not growing, trying to shrink the size of the HR department. The company I just met with today is trying to shrink almost 30% out of the HR department. So we're all dealing with the need to do more with less and take advantage of this new technology, while, of course, every month AI gets smarter and better.
It does.
So it's a very,
Yeah.
very creative, interesting time for everybody in HR and leadership.
Yeah, across probably all functions. Are you seeing any specific areas within HR that are sort of the first that will shift? Either roles will change or jobs will go away. Like who in HR is impacted most today?
Well, the recruiting people have been using AI for a long time, so they've had a lot of experience with AI-based assessment, AI-based sourcing, AI-based skills inference, and more now AI interviewing. And to some degree, they have no choice because the candidates are using AI. And so there's a flurry of candidates
Mm,
applying to jobs, and they're dealing with AI on the employer side to screen people faster. But the more significant, and in some companies, that's a big deal. In a lot of companies, it's more of a tuning process. And that
right.
depends on the growth rate of the company and how many people are hiring and how fast the turnover is taking place. I think where the big money is being saved right now and the big, sort of actual return on investment is in the call centers, employee service, manager self-service, and then L&D. I don't think I've talked to a single company that isn't trying to find a better way for managers to get information without having to pick up the phone and call somebody from HR, not even being sure who to call
Mm,
and whether they're going to get the right answer, getting faster access to Workday, Oracle, SAP, ADP, whatever, without having to figure out how to log in and remember what to do, and then take advantage of all the policies that the company has that are sitting around in a portal. That's the
right.
low-hanging fruit. And
Hmm.
then in L&D, the L&D industry, which is a 350 to $400 billion industry, is filled with opportunity for cost reduction and performance improvement on how we learn and how quickly we gain access to information. So that's coming next. That area where we've really been focusing people's attention is still emerging, but that's going to be a massive re-engineering going on in L&D. I think L&D is going to completely change over the next 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. I want to get into that maybe first. The shift in the way, like, how do you see AI shaping how we learn differently than maybe in the past? And then we'll get into the L&D function itself.
Well, okay, so the simplest evidence that there's something different is the fact that since the birth of e-learning in 2001,
I remember those
there's
days.
been a steady growth to plateau of online learning. Most
Hmm.
online learning catalog companies have plateaued their growth. A lot of them have gone out of business. The learning experience platform business is sort of flattened to decline. The LMS business is sort of stabilized, while ChatGPT now has 1 billion users.
Right.
What in less than 2 years, ChatGPT went from 0 to 1 billion users. That is 2 or 3 orders of magnitude faster than anything has ever happened in online learning ever. Why is that? Because ChatGPT satisfies the human desire for curiosity, answering questions, getting information quickly, using a chat interface instead of a portal, talking to the PC or talking in the English language instead of clicking on buttons. All those, artifacts of AI have now proven to me that people are gonna learn 100 times to 1,000 times faster with AI than they ever have with traditional training. That's the reason we wrote that big report on the revolution of L&D is this idea that somebody in L&D is going to build a course and teach you what you need to know is not what people want.
Right.
Rarely do they want to sit through that. They want to learn what's interesting to them, what's important to them, what's relevant to their job in the fashion, speed, or nature of their needs. And they would like to ask questions and get answers. And they may or may not ever want to go through a long course. They might, but most people never complete any courses if they're given the option of not completing them. They complete enough and then they're done and they go back later
Hmm.
and learn more if they need it. So this interaction paradigm and the ability to generate content dynamically is so different and so much more powerful. And I'm not a biologist, but I think human beings are genetically wired as curious animals. I know the way I work. I'm in the information, analysis business. I get up every morning and I can go to Galileo, which is RAI, or ChatGPT, and I can ask questions that day, minute by minute, for the first 15 minutes of the day to get me ready for whatever I'm dealing with during the day in a way that I could never find that information before. This is why Google search traffic is dropping away. By the way, that's going
Hmm.
to affect Google, which I think Google caused their own problems by creating an entire page of ads every time you want to use it. But that's trailing off. This is a whole new paradigm. And inside a company where you can build very easily build a trusted corpus of information that's validated by true experts inside of your company, this is a whole new way to think about learning and what we used to call knowledge management than ever before. And it's starting to happen. It's not everywhere yet, but it's starting to happen pretty quickly.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. It's so interesting, Josh. Like I'm just observing my own behaviors as we go through this major transformation and um, using tools like ChatGPT, Gemini, Notebook LM. Like those are just part of my daily routine. I don't even remember the days prior to it. Almost like so the productivity piece has fundamentally changed how I work. I'm
Yeah, it's
really
going to,
curious. Yeah,
I mean, I think it's going to be at the point where we're going to have, I mean, I talk to my I talk to my agents with my voice because I'm tired of typing all the time. I
right,
can talk
right.
faster than I can type. So pretty soon these things are going to be in our glasses. We're going to be wearing them. They're going to be in our phones, and we're just going to be getting information as needed. And then the HR department or L&D department or whatever it's called, it's probably not going to be called L&D anymore, is going to be making sure that day-to-day, minute-to-minute information is refreshed and up to date. So I get the right answer to the question based on what the company's trying to do today. Um, and it's not going to be that hard because we're doing it today with Galileo Learn, and we've already done it in our environment. So I think it's just a matter of the training function is gigantic. Companies have
Hmm.
years and years of compliance courses and LMSs and LXPs and assessment models and skills models. That's not going to disappear overnight, but I think pretty quickly it's going to take over. The AI native learning is going to take over that whole domain.
Yeah. Josh, talk to me a bit about like the idea of every employee has an agent and that agent playing a part in their learning, sort of more in the, do you see that happening more in like the flow of work versus go and take this
Well,
course, learn?
it's
How
coming
do you see
from,
it?
so I just met with a bank today. I won't mention their name because they may not want me to tell you about them, but it's a big bank in Europe, all over the world, in fact. And they built a chatbot for their customers first, for customers to get information on their accounts and how to open an account and, take out a loan and stuff. And then the IT department says, well, since we got this working so well for customers, why don't we let employees use it? Let's put employee policies. Let's hook it up to Workday because nobody can find work. Nobody knows how to use a Workday. It's not really designed for end users. Let's hook
Hmm.
it up to Microsoft Teams, and voila, they have a chatbot that every employee can use for their day-to-day activities.
Yeah.
Now, if the learning function gets their learning plugged into that, they don't even need a learning portal anymore.
Hmm.
So this is already happening. It's not happening in every company, but it's happening pretty quickly. The thing that's blocking companies from doing it is either A, they don't have an AI policy yet, so they don't have a standard interface tool. And B, they don't trust it or they don't have good content or they don't have a good data strategy yet to make sure that it's not incorrect or inappropriate data. But even this bank, which is a very large bank, they said, well, given everybody a policy guidelines on what they're allowed to put in it and what they're allowed. And this particular woman told me that the only data they don't let people put in it is restricted confidential. You can put in internal only data in it, even confidential data, as long as it's protected around your work group. So um, banks are usually not the fastest movers, but they are, and this particular one is. So to me, a year from now, 80% of companies are going to operate this way. Now, if you're in HR or in leadership development or L&D, why would you not use this channel that reaches all your employees as opposed to your old portal in the LMS, which nobody, frankly, can make sense of anyway? So
Yeah.
I just think this is going to happen like wildfire.
Yeah, agreed. It is, and it's as you mentioned earlier, it's getting smarter. You know, more than faster than by the month. I mean, it's day to day. It's unbelievable how
Well, and
things are
Sal, the
changing.
thing about it that's also amazing to me is because our Galileo platform has an agent and a learning server. You can take a document, a checklist, or even a video or audio interview with a subject matter expert. Let's suppose
Right.
you're a
Mhm.
bank and you want to say, give me the best practices on opening a mortgage for this type of a client under these kinds of conditions, and the person can just talk, and you can load that into the AI server, and it will generate either a video or a podcast or just a document that anybody can find. So then if you then ask, how do I open a mortgage to this type of customer? It will get the information that you just captured from an expert and turn it into an instructional solution for that person without you having to build a course or
Hmm.
author some kind of a document around it. All of that publishing stuff that L&D people do is going to be greatly diminished. Some of it'll still happen because there's still times when we want formal curriculum, but um, given people's appetite for information at work and how much time they have, I think it's going to be much, much more productive to do it this way. And the other thing about it, from the standpoint of the HR or the L&D team, now they know exactly what people need because they can see what questions they're asking, as
Right.
opposed to building a course and hoping people are going to take it and maybe sending them a survey at the end, which they don't even want to bother filling out.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
it's better for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. Where do you see the human connection coming in here? So, as an example, I see quite a bit in the workplace the value of people connecting, sharing their challenges
Right.
and their experiences, either in person or virtually. But where do you see that overlapping with
Well,
AI
this,
from a
this
learning
actually came up
function?
today in the group of people I was meeting with. So let's suppose you had a company or a job where you had instant access to the correct information at any time. That doesn't tell you how to do it. That doesn't give you the experience, the judgment, the subtleties of an expert or a senior person.
Yeah.
So people are still going to want to talk to senior people about, well, look, I read online that I'm supposed to do this, this, and this, but I'm a little worried that this isn't going to work. Can you tell me what's likely to happen when I go down this path? This is what experts do, and we will always need wisdom, experience, managers, whatever we call them. If we don't call them
Hmm.
managers, we'll call them something else. But the person that's been around the block and has been through that situation 5 or 10 times before is still somebody you're going to want to talk to. But but rather than asking them the basics, you don't have to ask them the basics. You can ask the system that and then use them for the more sophisticated inquiries.
Yeah, that makes sense. Where do you see leadership development shifting? How do you see that shifting?
Well, I know
Yeah.
that's your area, and I think it's going to go well. Two things I think are happening that I'm aware of right now, and probably more to come. One is these bots are pretty good coaches.
Yeah.
So we introduced a version of Galileo called Galileo for Managers, which speaks management speak. So you can ask it any question you want about your team, about goal setting, about hiring, about harassment claims, legal things, whatever. So it is in a sense removing some of the burden of learning all these, kind of management things, and you can, the customer can load their hiring policies and performance management process and so forth into it, so it can be very, very local and relevant to your company. But then the second thing, and by the way, these AI agents are getting more human-like. Meta's trying to do this. I'm not sure they're doing it in the right direction, but um, coaching companies, BetterUp, and many of the others have built bots that are built on IP. Ours is built on our IP or the local
Hmm.
company's IP that are very coaching-like. They're trained on psychological coaching practices. That's not the same as real leadership development. And then the second piece is leadership development to me is very local to a company. What makes it
Yeah.
the most powerful is this is our leadership model. These are the values that we uh, revere. This is the approach we take to performance and coaching and growth and innovation or whatever it may be that this company's focused on. And that's an opportunity for the company. And I just met with another bank today on that to define its leadership model. And then where AI can play is taking that context and allowing the employee to watch videos, to ask questions, to present scenarios so they understand how to apply that company context to a given situation. But neither of those replace face-to-face meetings because leaders learn a lot of being a leader is knowing other leaders,
Right.
having relationships with them, what's often called leading across the company, not leading up and down the company. So we still need leadership events, and we need inspiration. We need to talk to we want to hear from the CEO. We want to hear from the head of the business. We want to get to know each other. So all of that human interaction stuff can still happen, but we don't have to sit through PowerPoints,
Right. Right.
training courses. I mean, nearly as much. There will be some of that, but I think a lot of that will slowly move away. We can focus on the real experiential learning that we want. And by the way, the other thing AI can do is simulation. So, like with our AI system, you can ask the system to build a simulated experience. So, simulate a problem employee, simulate a broken product, simulate an angry customer, and role playing kinds of things that are complicated to do by hand can also be
Hmm.
done with AI. So, the instructional capabilities of AI are just amazing. I don't know how these LLM guys managed to do this, but we work with Sana Labs, which is
Right.
the company that runs our system, and
I
they're
saw that.
very
Yeah.
focused on this. But it's extremely well. I would not be surprised. I've read rumors that OpenAI is going to build a learning solution in their offering. They might in ChatGPT. Any of these bigger platform companies could do it, but you don't need to do business with them. There's lots of vendors like ours and others that have these kinds of technologies. I think it's going to be, very ubiquitous in our lives. I mean,
Yes.
we're
Yeah.
going to be able to go to even our consumer AI and say, "Hey, teach me what the economic growth rate means to me," or, I'm trying to analyze the stock and why should I pay attention to the price to earnings ratio? What does that mean to me? Or something like that. It's going to be pretty easy to learn.
Yeah, I think it 10x's the L&D function or just learning in general. You can get
Yeah.
all that information on demand as you need it in the flow of work and then leverage those human interactions for the areas that matter most, the experiential piece, trying to really relate the content to how to solve a problem. If you're, a mining company and you're a manager and you've got a challenging situation, being able to talk through that, I think, is helpful. And AI can support with the content and the knowledge and the real time
Well,
nudges.
and the other thing, Sal, is the greatest companies that I've met. I just had a long talk with L'Oreal the other day and Microsoft and others. They don't they don't use leadership development as just a management training tool. They use it as a culture building tool
Yes.
so that leaders use the same language and they respond to problems in a similar way. So AI actually does that quite well. So if
Hmm.
you taught your AI about the growth mindset program at Microsoft or the uh, beauty leadership program at L'Oreal, it's going to explain things to you in that context. It knows how to do that.
Right.
So, if you're a hard charging competitive investment bank and your leadership model is take no prisoners,
Right.
whatever it may be. The AI will manifest that pretty well. So you can really reinforce these behavioral changes through these systems.
Yeah, I love that. I think it is. I think it's going to really shift. I think it's going to really accelerate how people integrate into a culture if it's done well. Um, w when you're talking with these companies, I'd love to hear maybe a bit about what's the mindset that the organization needs to have to make these shifts, and then also what's the mindset for the individual learner or leader who is trying to grow in this age of AI first learning that you describe in your white paper.
Well, I mean, the biggest challenge, learners have a challenge in the sense that sometimes they're afraid of this and they're intimidated by it and
Hmm.
they're just not comfortable with it. Although that's going away pretty fast. I think
I
that's
think so.
dropping to the wayside as we all get used to using these things. However, in the organizational side, there's a lot of obstacles. Um, Especially in HR and L&D. HR departments are not the top priority for the IT function, so they may or may not get first priority of technical support for building things. So they may be building it themselves. This bank I told you about built a lot of this stuff themselves. They got three kids out of college that built a lot of this
Mm,
using their own tools. So that's number one. The second is it's scary for HR departments to put themselves out of a job.
right.
So, if I'm if I'm running the call center and it turns out our new chatbot is going to eliminate the need for all these call center agents, I'm going to have mixed feelings about it. If I'm the head of L&D or if I'm an L&D designer and I suddenly find that the AI can do the same work I do in 1/10 the time, I need to be a super worker. That's why we use the word
Yeah,
super worker,
right.
because all of a sudden in fact, I just was talking to an engineering HR leader actually today about this. He said a lot of the engineers are worried that the AI is going to take away their expertise and their ability to grow in the company is going to be limited because their expertise will be embedded into the AI. And I said, well, that's true for all of us. It's true for me.
Right.
Um, so we all need to learn how to use this so we can step it up and do
Yeah,
more.
right.
And that's actually very hard for people in HR to do because a lot of the roles in HR were defined as relatively routine jobs. So, I mean, there was an article in the Financial Times today that threatens that, 50 to 80% of HR jobs are going to go away. I don't believe that, but a significant number of them will. And
Hmm.
then those people, whether they be recruiters or designers or business partners, are going to have to, in a sense, reinvent their careers around the use of these tools.
Yeah.
The best analogy to me is I don't think it's the internet. I think the best analogy actually was the invention of the personal computer, which a lot of you
Mm,
weren't. I mean, I'm old enough to remember that.
I am too.
Before the personal computer, you had to go into the mainframe computer in the basement to even see what a computer looked like. You were just using a terminal. And then all of a sudden, we all got computers. And some people quickly learned how to use spreadsheets and word processors, and then the rest of us figured it out pretty fast too. But the IT people were freaking out. They were not happy for a while.
Mm,
And then they got with the program and they realized, well, we still have jobs because we have to manage all the security of this stuff. But that's kind of where this goes is we all become better designers, better HR people, better coaches, better leaders, and we do less of the manual looking things up that we used to do the old way
yeah.
using these tools. And if you're in the creative part of the profession where you're designing something or building a communications plan or writing emails to candidates or to the employees or doing engagement surveys, you've got superpowers now. You can get information and generate information much, much faster than before. And now your creative juices can go into how do we make this more pointed, more interesting, more compelling, more, uh, less wordy, whatever the
Hmm.
problem may be. There will always be, I mean, I have studied this enough and talked to enough companies that no matter how good the AI is, humans will always add value on top of it. And so, there's no point in fighting it because it's already getting so
Right.
good that it's
Right.
becoming part of our everyday lives.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, think about an engagement survey and how much time we spend building it, administrating it, getting the
Can I
data,
tell you
and
a funny
then do
study? I'm
nothing
going to
with the
tell you a
data.
funny story about surveys.
Yeah.
So first of all, we're not going to have to ask surveys because you could just send people a message on the bot, and the bot could ask employees to answer a question. But so we have a 94 level capability model for HR. We have 94 capabilities in HR. They're basically skill areas. And we have an assessment that people go through to assess themselves against these 94 things. And the other day I was talking to our head of product and I said, well, it's time for us to build a credential around this. So we should probably build a rigorous test with validated answers to cover these 94 things. We don't have to cover all of them, but to cover a bunch of them. So I went into Galileo, our AI, and I gave it some previews and I said, I'd like to build a certification test for these 94 topics. And it knows what the 94 topics are and it has a lot of information about them. And I'd like to give everybody 3 questions on each topic. And here's the type of questions I'd like. And I'd like you to give me a rubric for answers. In 2 minutes, it did that. And I had 470 questions and answers. Now, they weren't perfect, but they were pretty good. That would have taken me months
It's a great
to
starting
do by
point, right?
hand.
Yeah.
So, I still don't have to, we still need to make sure that it's what we want, but whew.
Yeah, it's incredible, Josh. And I've been playing around with a tool called Base 44.
Uh-huh.
And you know what may have taken months to build an app, you can literally do in minutes. Now, it might not be scalable, but it's great MVP, great prototyping. And so all of a sudden you have reduced time to get to that starting point by 90%. Um, just incredible.
Well, and
I'm
Sally,
so excited to see where this is going.
the other thing that's been coming up that has occurred to me over the last few months is everybody who can speak English is now a programmer.
That's
Because
right.
all you have to do is tell it what you want it to do in
That's
great
exactly right.
detail in whatever language you speak. You don't have to learn C++ or data structures or SQL or whatever it is that the computer science folks use. It does that for you. So now the number of people that can program or build things on top of these is 100 times larger, 1,000 times larger. We don't have to go to a software engineer, hey, build me something that does so and so. We can just ask the AI to do it. And some of us that are more sort of engineering-ish by nature might just build our own stuff.
It's really cool. I think there's going to be also a change in how we use tools like spreadsheets and documents. Funny story. I have a goal of doing 100 push-ups every day, and my goal is to do 40,000 push-ups for the year. So I have a spreadsheet that I've been tracking, literally just a Google sheet. I built an app on Base 44 doing exactly what you said, talk to it, and it shows trends and I can create goals and it shows me a streak. Josh, it took me 6 minutes
Are you
with
timing
about
yourself?
maybe
Make sure you don't
nine
hurt your
minutes of
shoulders. Push-ups will hurt
right.
your shoulders if you do too many of them.
So far I'm good, but I'll keep an eye on that. The point being, it's you don't have to be a programmer to build tools like this, and it fundamentally will change how we use other tools because now I've got it on my phone. It's an app that works, and it's giving me much more data in less time than it actually takes to build a spreadsheet.
No, I agree. And I mean, also this is changing the vendor market because,
Mm,
you look at the vendor market, the learning tools, the HCM tools, all of them, they're all going to become developer interfaces where you can add and customize and configure them yourself as a user. That was never possible before.
yes.
You just
Yeah.
got it as is, and that was it.
Josh, incredible. Before we wrap up today, I mean, I could talk to you for hours. Where can people find more information about you and Galileo and some of the things that you and the Josh
Yeah, I
Bersin
mean,
company are
so our
doing?
main sort of information website is joshbersin.com. Galileo is completely described in getgalileo.com or getgalileo.ai, and Galileo has all of our material and all of our education and instructional content in it. So we basically sell corporate memberships or corporate client relationships, and then individuals can access to Galileo for about $400. So we've tried to make our all of our material extremely easy for people to find and use. And the cool thing about what we did with Galileo is in addition to all the research that we do, we have 7 or 8 trusted content partners. So there's benchmark data in there, there's job data in there, there's hiring data in there, there's compliance data in there. So we're trying to build really a one-stop shop for HR people to really, do their jobs better, learn, and advance their capabilities in the functions of HR. And and then we meet people face to face and go to all the conferences. And so we're as out there as we can possibly be. So
Awesome. Josh, thank you so much. Super inspiring. And man, this is just an exciting time.
it sure is. I agree.
Thanks for being on the show.
You bet.